A typographic scale is a collection of font sizes that are in visual harmony. To define a structured type scale, you need the base size number, the font size number of the main body text. Then you need to pick a multiplier you'd like to use. For more editorial and visual website projects, you might use a bigger multiplier or scale. For web apps and mobile apps where space is more limited and less contrast is needed, a smaller multiplier and scale is used. Some of the most popular options are 1.2, 1.25, 1.33, 1.5, 1.618 or golden ratio, and 2.0 as multipliers. Basically, if you have 16 as your base number and you're using the 1.25 scale, the sizes you might use for your project would be 13, 16, 20, 25, 32, and so on. Each new level of typography is proportionally bigger than the previous one. From experience, type scales can also be too limiting. When I use them, I usually skip some sizes I might not need and adjust others as needed. But it's an amazing starting point until you get a hang of defining the font sizes for your type system. For example, in the range of 13 to 16, I might even need up to 3 sizes sometimes. With most of the multipliers, that's impossible to achieve. And for most projects, I only need a couple of sizes for headings and subheadings, and that's where skipping type scale sizes comes into play. Most multipliers result in decimal numbers. I definitely suggest rounding these numbers if you're using a type scale like that. If you're using more than one typeface, you can use that contrast instead of sizes to suggest hierarchy levels. When it comes to type systems we define, it's crucial to think about responsive values if you're working on a responsive website or a web app. Find the same style for multiple devices or breakpoints to ensure that the hierarchy translates well into the context of a larger or a smaller device. As we're talking about responsive type hierarchy, it's important to mention M and REM units. It can be a personal preference to use them or not. When working with absolute units, you define sizes in absolute values like font size is 16 and line height is 24. They're fixed to a specific value you set. On the other side, relative units are relative to something else. It may be the size of the parent element or the size of the main HTML file your developer is working on. So relative units are M, REM, VW, VH, and similar. They are scalable and help with responsive design. I don't use them a lot personally based on the types of projects I mostly work on, but I know a lot of designers who do. With M's, the unit is relative to the font size of the parent element. With REMs, unit is relative to the root font size of the HTML document. So, for example, if your base body size of the font is 16, 1.25 rem would be 20. R in the rem stands for root. The M unit allows setting the font size of an element relative to the font size of its parent. When the size of the parent element changes, the size of the child changes automatically. Both of these can help you blend some interesting fluidity to your text, but they also need to be heavily documented or discussed with your front-end developers. If your layout is fixed, it's completely fine to use fixed units too. If your layout is flexible, a more flexible unit like REM or VW could come in handy, ensuring that you keep a consistent amount of characters per line, for example. For mobile apps and web apps, I rarely found the need for a relative unit, and those are the types of projects I work on most as a product designer. Not exclusively, but I personally choose those types of projects more often as I find them more exciting or complex. If you're someone who would like to specialize more in editorial website designs, I definitely look more into the relative units and focus on mastering using them for your type systems.